Hey everyone, so in this video I'm doing the cheap art supplies challenge, which is basically where you use a cheaper version of some kind of art supply and see what you can do with it, and see what kind of art you can make using something cheaper than usual. So I'm just using, my paper is some Bristol board from the dollar store. It was two for $1, two giant sheets for $1, so it was 50 cents, using a regular HB school pencil, with the pink eraser at the back, and this eraser I found in my drawer. I'm not sure what eraser it is. And then these are some watercolors from the dollar store. They were $2, and I decided to do a watercolor cheap art supply challenge. They have a nice palette at the top, and they close at the sides really nicely. I'm using ballpoint pens to outline a few different ones. I didn't end up using the blue one, I just used the black ones. So I started off by tracing the bottom of one of my pencil containers, and then I just outlined that to make a circle in the background because it was the vision I had for this. I was basing this off of a sketch I did in my sketchbook. It's like someone surrounded by plants was my idea, and so I was just drawing her hair and sketching with this pencil. I'm so used to sketching with mechanical pencils that when I switch to a normal pencil, it just feels so nice. I don't know, I think I should sketch with them more often. The lines, you can like vary them more, and I find it easier to control, and since it's HB, it is softer, so I tend to get a heavy hand when I'm sketching and I press too hard, and the paper is kind of stained from the graphite. But using this pencil was really nice because it was nice and soft, but I probably would get it a little bit in a softer one, maybe like just B or like 2B or something, but not anything too dark. But yeah, I did enjoy using this pencil. There's nothing wrong with using, a regular school pencil. I'm not saying it's a bad supply. It's just, a normal pencil. It's nothing fancy, not an expensive brand of drawing pencils, or not an expensive mechanical pencil, even though the mechanical pencils I use are really cheap too. This might actually be more expensive than mechanical pencils, I'm not sure. I normally use these like Papermate ones, and sometimes I use dollar store ones. It's more about the lead inside the mechanical pencil, but I use like school grade pencils to draw. I just do. I don't use anything too fancy, so this part was not too bad for me. And just finishing the sketches. I wanted to do succulents around because I don't know, I've just been inspired by some succulent art I've seen lately, and I also have a succulent collection of my own, and I like to grow them. I have this little light set up for them, and it's very fun to see the little babies grow from the leaves of the succulents. So now I took a different angle to outline because I knew my head would get in the shot. I knew I would lean forward too much and it would film the top of my head, and that always just looks, I don't know, I just don't like showing that part of my head because usually my hair is really messy anyway when I'm doing art videos because I throw it up in some kind of ponytail, and then it's not like very nice to look at. So I filmed from the right because I'm left-handed so that you wouldn't see my head, but you could clearly see the pen making marks on the paper, and I thought this looked a lot nicer than my head being constantly in frame. And it was really hard to outline with a ballpoint pen. There was something about the waxiness of the pencil or the paper, or maybe the eraser on the paper. I don't know what it was, but some spots the pen would work perfectly fine, and other spots the pen would not, like it wouldn't make a line. I don't know what was wrong with it because the paper I had underneath this is also Bristol board, like it's the same paper, and it could write perfectly fine on this, so it must have had something to do with the pencil that I was using. I do like using ballpoint pens. I think they're really great for sketching and outlining. With this one, it just wouldn't draw on the lines. I'm wondering if it was the pencil. I don't know. I'll have to see. And I accidentally smudged her eyebrow. I hate when the multi-liner smudges. Not the multi-liner, just whatever you're outlining with. I hate when it smudges because you can't really fix it until the coloring stage. But you want to fix it right then and there, but you can't because then, if you cover it up with a gel pen, you can't color over that gel pen, so you can't really fix it till you color. So these watercolors were really hard to use. I'm not saying they're impossible to use, but they're just so chalky. I like when watercolors like absorb to the paper, um, and like you can layer over them, but these you couldn't layer with them. It was like you were painting with thin chalk. So as soon as it dried, it has like a chalky feel, and it can actually come off onto your hands, and you can't really layer it because it just starts moving around everything below it. I don't think these were like, I don't think these should be called watercolors because they don't really like go into the paper. They just kind of sit on top of the paper, and it's like you're painting with thin chalk. I don't know, it's really weird. Like the first coat is okay, but once you start layering more, it just gets really, really chalky, and I found it hard to get dark colors, so this thing looks really, really pastel. I don't mind the pastel look, but I wanted some more contrast than what I ended up getting. So that was kind of disappointing. But these are definitely usable. You just have to figure out its quirks and the ways to get around things. So like maybe mixing your colors with black rather than just a hue to darken them. I had to mix it with black because it just wasn't getting darker no matter what I did. Like it gets darker to a certain extent, but then after that it just starts to move around the pigment or the chalk, and then it doesn't really like blend, and it doesn't, not blend, it doesn't really layer it. It kind of mixes with the color below it, so it's not as dark as you want it to be. I did enjoy it, even though it was frustrating, and it also colored over top of the ballpoint pen lines, which I don't think should happen with watercolor. It's supposed to be thin. It's not supposed to be so thick that it colors over the lines, but it just could be just this type of watercolor is just thicker than usual, or like it's just not going to, it's just different. The watercolor I normally use, I don't do watercolor very often, but it's like that Artist Loft brand. I think it's definitely on the cheaper side, but I can get pretty okay with results with those. But I'm no watercolor expert at all. Like I mostly use Copic markers or do digital art, so I'm not used to watercolor, but I wanted to give this a try, and it is just so different from the Artist Loft ones I have and from any other watercolor I've ever tried. It's $2 for a reason. It doesn't mean that you can't use it. I struggled with it, but if you normally use this and you can get good results, then that is great. But I could not, at least at this point, because a lot of it using the new material is experimentation, and what would I do differently next time? I wouldn't layer the colors as much, or at least wait for it to dry completely before I tried to smooth it out, because I would go over it and then there'd be a drop of, like, how when you do a wash with watercolor, there's like a little drop of water at the end and you like pick it up with your brush? That did not work with this. Did not work. I just kind of blended it. I don't know. Turned out weird. But I hope you enjoyed seeing me struggle through this. I'm kind of okay with the way it turned out. I like the colors and everything. I tried scanning it with my scanner. It made everything look gray. It's just because it's so pastel. My scanner makes it all kind of not pixelated, but it takes away the color. Like it doesn't just lighten the color, it removes the color. So, but I hope you enjoyed watching this challenge and let me know what you think. Please like this video and subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks for watching.